Hi, everybody. Welcome to the interview portion of the drill writing course. Today, we have a special guest that is Amy Fletcher from Indiana. And I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I'm glad that you're here.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I'm Amy Fletcher, and I was a band director for 15-ish years, 6 through 12. And I'm now teaching computer applications for the last 10 or 12 years. Um, and just like most people, I got started playing trumpet in 5th grade, and I never stopped and went through the school band and then drum corps and then a little bit of college band. As far as marching band, actually I was never in a college marching band, which is kind of a weird story. But then I started writing drill and judging, and that's kind of the 22nd version of the last 30 years.
Cool. So, do you write a lot of drill right now, or are you just writing a few?
I'm writing way less than I did at times, because you just have to keep all the plates spinning, and it's not as easy as it might look, but yeah, I'm writing 5 or 6 shows a year.
Cool.
So mainly in Indiana.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on is you've had a lot of success teaching marching band, especially in the state fair bands, working with your husband Doug, with Winchester, and all those um, all those schools that I can't even remember the names of. But you've been writing drill and teaching those guys for a long time. It seems like. Um, what has been your approach to getting those groups started? Because for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Indiana State Fair Band, it's basically a summertime band, right? It
It's
happens
extremely short, compact season,
right.
which is one of the things that makes it both awesome and kind of baffling.
Yeah, and it's a smaller stage that you get to work with, all sorts of things. But the gist of it is you have to get these kids moving and doing fundamentally sound things really fast. You don't have a lot of time to sit around
Yes,
and get
everything
things
really,
going.
really fast.
So what has
Yeah.
been your approach to teaching marching fundamentals?
Well, really, I like to be extremely detailed, but you're always looking at that in reference to the entire season is 5 weeks. So the thing that I think I've gotten a lot better at since really jumping into track show is I have a plan, and I have a plan with time stamps on it. And this is going to take me this 7 minutes. And it's literally down to, all right, I have 3 hours on this May rehearsal to teach basics, and I've got it down to this is 5 minutes. And when 5 minutes is up, if we don't have it, then it goes on tomorrow's plan, because I need to do that again. And you just have to absolutely be pretty anal retentive about the plan. You can't go into it and think you're going to get all the things done if you have not thought through, all right, I need to do these big 3 things. And then underneath this first big thing, there are these 7 parts of it, and this is going to take 12 minutes to explain and have them do it and review it again, and then that builds on the next one. It all has to build logically, just like teaching anything else. It has to start with your building blocks, so that the students understand what that was, and then when you get to this secondary skill, that you're really just marrying these 2 basic skills together. But if you didn't get those 2 basic skills understood, then you can't really do the secondary skill, because they don't understand one or both of the building blocks, basically. So, and really, what I've kind of realized here in the last, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years of this, is really my job is not teaching basics. It is in May, it's teaching the students basics and the newer kids the basics. But that whole time, I'm teaching the staff. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you hire your summer staff, they don't know how I explained mark time for the last 12 years to this group. And if I just say, okay, you go teach them mark time and you go teach them da, 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 they're not teaching what I taught. I have to teach the staff what to teach and how to teach it. And then a lot of the time I'm watching how the staff is teaching it, because it's just too big of a job for one person. It really is.
So
And that's kind of investing in the staff, because they're probably in band director school. And if you've never taught them, then you got a bunch of people out there that don't know how to teach mark time, or don't know what they want their mark time to look like. And it's never occurred to them because nobody ever taught them that way. So I think it's kind of how I teach basics, to answer your question, has really kind of evolved into, I'm still teaching the students, particularly in May, but really I'm teaching the students as guinea pigs to teach the staff. If I can't be there next Friday at the rehearsal, I'm going to send you instructions and you need to know how I explained it.
so with limited time, is there ever the temptation to just skip over fundamental training and go
Absolutely not.
right into
And I have
drill?
to argue that sometimes with the people above me. But do you ever not do lip slurs?
I don't.
It, I mean, really, it all, what you want them to be able to achieve on August 7th or whatever, absolutely goes back to the details and the basics. And what you did in May is the reason why you can get to the level of detail in August, is because you were detailed in May. And you got to do that with a stopwatch in your pocket in this circuit. Um, and that is, I got to have my crap together when I go in. I will not step on the field without about 3 pages of plan for that 3 hour rehearsal. And that's really how I do drill cleaning too, and drill teaching is, I know that when we get to page 6, that's going to be a problem for that guard person, and I have that ahead of time on my sheet, that I know that's going to be a problem, so that's going to take this amount of time. And then we can run up to there, and it's about me having my crap together to not waste students' time.
Well, and being intentional about what you're teaching fundamentally, not teaching things that are superfluous to what's not going to be in the show.
Right. Right. If you end up with extra time and you need to fill rehearsal time, there's plenty of stuff you can do and you can add. But yeah, it's definitely me having my crap together, and then teaching the people that I can use to help maximize time. Because you don't know if you're going to get into a series of 3 days of thunderstorms, and you're going to, basically it's not going to be safe to be outside because there's lightning. And I mean, you just really have to have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And this is what we can do if we're in the gym, and all that kind of stuff.
So, as an aside, right now we're in quarantine preparations for state fair or the fall or whatnot. And a lot of people are looking at limited seasons or trimmed down seasons. Are there any tips or tricks that you can give to somebody watching this that maybe goes, well, I've got to figure out some way to get a show on the field, but what do I do fundamentally? How can I marry those two together with a shortened season?
Um, First of all, I think your attitude is not, oh my God, this thing has been done to us. It's how can we make lemonade here? So um, I think every kid, regardless of where they are, has a little bit of space. Every kid can get a yardstick or a tape measure and can mark down 22 and a half inches down the hallway in the house and start working. My internet is unstable. Can start working 8 to 5 step size. Okay. And so I could make a video of my foot and what I want my foot technique to be. And this is my heel, and this is where it relates to time. And this is now put on this song that is from YouTube that is 142 beats a minute. There are things you could do that are basics, and then the kid can record themselves doing that and send it in, you know.
Yeah.
Here's your posture. Here's how we're going to break down your posture. Okay, now show me the correct posture. And then you can critique that and say, well, no, your whatever is not, there's definitely things you could be doing in quarantine or in a gym, or, if the kid is alone, that, through video.
Well, what I'm hearing from you is there's always time for fundamentals.
Absolutely.
No
I
matter
can
what's going on.
remember I marched 2 years with Star of Indiana and 3 years with the Garfield Cadets. And one of our very first shows with Star of Indiana in 1985 was in Bloomington, Illinois. And they pulled us off the field and stuffed us in this locker room because there was a tornado. And I mean, we were just crammed in there, and we all just took our mouthpieces and we played through the song on our mouthpieces and worked on tuning. We worked on our hearing of, can we tune this, on mouthpieces. There's always something you can be doing.
That's awesome. So I I know when I'm teaching my own drill, there's certain things that kind of you know what to look out for, but I'm curious to know what your approach is. You've written a show, you're out teaching your own show. What is your process for getting it on the field? Um, how nuanced do you get at the beginning versus the end? Those kind of things.
um, Teaching drill with Winchester is fabulous. I think it's because they are just unbelievable kids, those Winchester kids. If you said, pick up my car and move it over there, they'd say, sure. I mean, they will not stop. Um, the thing about them is, and I've been there long enough that I know what they know. And getting drill on the field with them, sometimes we're putting 8 or 9 pages on the field an hour. It
Wow.
just they have the process down. My process is, we hand every single kid a drill chart or through their phone or whatever, so every single kid is responsible for where they belong. And even if they don't understand that, they're not going to understand it if we don't ask them to do it. So they eventually do get there, So we put that on them to figure out where they should go. I don't let people take them by the hand and take them over and put them in their dot. It takes a little longer, but in the end, it saves a lot of time, because then they're learning how to read either the chart or the drill program, and then they realize how to look at it and see if it looks right. Um, and let's see, how do I teach it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's how you teach it is, sorry, I've got a pop-up coming up here on my screen. Microsoft wants me to update. Um, you know, I guess that's the process is you give them the charts or the coordinate and you force them to learn it on their own. I guess the question for, I guess, all drill writers and drill teachers and band directors is what's more important, the dot or the form?
Both. There's
Yeah.
not a more important. There's not a more important. If you're following the form and it's sloping wrong and you're ending up 6 steps from where you're supposed to be, that's not right.
Right.
you know so I tend to go with the dot, because and I teach them this in basics as well. We set it up, and then I make them stand there with their feet together with the right posture and look at it with their horn up on their face. Now what can you see 2 people down? I don't care what you can see of the person next to you. What can you see of that person two people away? Can you see his left ear? Well, then that's what you need to see when this is set up right. So when we set it up again, get in a position and move your eyeballs, put the horn on your face, move your eyeballs. And if you can see something more or less than that person's left ear, you need to move. Right. And we do that in basics too. What can you see? Move your eyes. When this is right, take a picture of what it looks like. And then we mess it up and then set it up again and make it look right. So that then in August, when I'm trying to say, you are an inch off of your dot, I can say, it doesn't look the way it did. Does it? Look at it. So everything is geared towards, both in basics and in teaching the drill, everything is geared towards, am I going to be able to clean it? Am I going to be able to clean this drill by August 7th? And if the answer to that's no, then I need to rewrite.
I had one person describe to me dot and form as dot is the notes and the rhythms, and the form is the musicality that you put into the show.
You do have to forgive sometimes and give up your dot and go with the form, even though you know darn good and well the form is wrong. Yeah,
just like tuning. I mean, sometimes you got to play it a little sharp to match those around you. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes.
Because in the end, the whole is greater than the part in the end. But how you get the whole better is the part.
So I really like that what you said, and this is great for designers. If you don't think it can be clean, don't write it.
Right.
That just because it looks cool on paper doesn't mean that it's executable.
Elton John show last year with Anderson, I had a very cool ending. And when we decided we were writing that, I knew what the end was going to be before I knew anything else. I knew this is what I'm doing at that spot in that music. That's what I'm doing. It didn't work. You couldn't see it. I couldn't clean it. I needed to be at a higher, I guess elevation is the right term for it.
Yeah.
You just couldn't see it. And I was in love with that. I loved it. Everybody that saw it in Pieware loved it. The kids loved it when they saw it on the charts. It wasn't cleanable. It just wasn't. And then we ended up changing the ending, I think 2 or 3 more times actually, to make it what we wanted.
And that's okay. It's okay to change drill once you've taught it.
In the Cadets 1989, this is a true story. They didn't know how to end the show. It was the Les Mis show.
Yeah, great show.
And we literally, the week of finals, we had 3 different endings. And when we would set up to do the run through at the end of ensemble rehearsal, we actually had to ask, which ending are we doing? Because we had 3 and they were all great. And they just had to, just decide which one was going to be the best.
Right. So when you're teaching drill, you've got it on the field. What are some tricks that you use to clean it?
When you have the kids that know what they're doing and they're going to end up on the dot and they're going to be on the dot at the right time, and then you got the others, I try to give the others more information, like in the 16 count drill move. If they're just not figuring out what their path is or what their step size is, I'll break that down and I'll give them a count. On 10, you have to be here. Okay, so I'm giving them less responsibility, or more check-in spots. No, you were supposed to cross that yard line on count 7 and you crossed it on count 9, so therefore you're not going to make the dot, right? Because I can kind of start ignoring the ones that are doing it right and zero in on that one that never ever makes it to their dot and give them a little bit more, and then when you're doing it, you're like, you're going to miss it. And then, because that's at some point, the more experienced kids don't really need me to tell them that they're right. I need to tell the ones that aren't getting it how to be right.
Without singling out a single kid, over and over.
I do single them out because I have 5 weeks to get this out there.
Okay.
And if I say, and that kind of bugs me actually, if I say, oh, trumpets, some of us aren't making the dot, that didn't help anybody, because the kid that doesn't know they didn't make their dot doesn't know I'm talking about them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make them, no, actually. I do unknowingly, but yeah. So I just you have to give the information. I mean, how many of us were in drum corps and only figured it out when somebody screamed at you? George Zingali, I mean, he knew my name forward and backward, you know, and I'd fix it. But if he had said sopranos, because there's 27 sopranos or trumpets, I guess now, but no, yeah, I mean, you do at some point, you do have to point them out and say, this is what you are doing that is wrong, and this is what you should be doing that is right.
Switching gears a little bit, we've got just a few minutes left. When you're writing drill, you've got an idea in your head, and you're like, this is going to work really cool, but you don't have the counts to do it. What do you just scrap it and go, it's just not going to happen? Do you go to the arranger?
Uh, Usually I will back up a couple pages and see if I can set it up better, because I don't want to change the music if I can make it work. But if I need to really do this thing that's in my head and there's just no way to make that work in X number of counts, um, I'm married to the arranger. So usually, so yeah, I can go and say, if I had 6 more counts, I could make this happen, and I'll show it to him, and then he'll either tweak it a little bit, or I don't go to that well very often and ask him to change stuff. And obviously, if it's a stock chart or somebody that I don't know, I don't normally ask them to change the music, because then that changes the drum parts, and then that changes the color guard, and so I just usually try to fix it on my own. But there have been a couple of times that I've been like, with 8 more counts, I can make this happen, and then we go from there.
Right.
So, but again, it has to be cleanable.
Right.
So, and I'm talking cleanable on August 7th. I'm not talking cleanable in May. But also, back to the basics, I will look at the tempo and the meter. And is it 7/8? Is it 7/8 at 172 beats a minute? Because that's how we're going to do basics. So that I'm teaching the show in May when they don't have any idea what it is I'm talking about. We're still doing that. And then I'll connect the dots later and say, remember when we did this in basics? That's this. That's right here. So I've already taught it to them, and we're just plugging in, this is, you already know how to do this. This is, because it is fast. It is very, very fast. In the Indiana State Fair, band day really is about 5 weeks.
Wow. So 2 more questions for you. The first one, what advice can you give to somebody who is starting out and like, you know what, I'm going to write my own drill for the first time this year? What kind of advice can you give them for processes? Maybe not tips and tricks, because that's, you'd have to have Pyware out to kind of show that. But what kind of things are you going to look out for in your very novice years?
Your novice years of writing drill. First, yes, that was the right choice. Yes, it's scary. Just do it. Just start out doing it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Right? So, first is jump in. Just go ahead and jump in, and have a plan that going into it that addresses the audio and the visual. So if you're looking at this music score and here's a low brass statement, have a plan that you're going to do something visually with that helps you out musically with what you're doing visually. Not really in the writing process, but in the gathering of information, because this is all I did this, how did it work? Okay, now how do I need to do it different next time? And it's just an ongoing process. That's how I learned to write at the state fair, because the state fair is not field show on a smaller circuit. It is its own weird, bizarre place to write for. And it takes you a few years to figure that out. But the second thing you should do if you're writing for the first time is do not be afraid to go to critique. Because in the 30 years that I've been judging, the number of people, particularly young directors that come in and are just scared to death to come talk to us, it is amazing. It's just all we want to do is help. And I'm going to shoot you straight. If that's bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's bad, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was bad for some reason. So go to critique and ask. And if you don't understand, because they probably don't, ask. Say, I don't understand what you're saying, because we're just teachers. And we're in as far as judging. We're just trying to teach and make you a better director and that a better band. So that's I would just keep trying stuff. I mean, you can upload stuff to the Pieware page and ask people way better and more experienced and more accomplished than I am, hey, take a look at this, and then take that feedback and figure out how that's going to work or not work for your situation. But good on you for paying for Pieware, and jump in. YouTube is your friend.
Yeah, and that's you mentioned a couple of great things. The drill and design, visual design HQ, I think is what it's called, group that's on Facebook, and then the Pieware Facebook page. Those are both really great resources to get a hold of as you learn.
Yeah, I mean, I started learning on paper, and I would draw myself grid paper. And the reason how I learned was looking at George Zingali's drill, and I would look at this page, and I would look at this page, and I look at this page, and I would figure out the movement for the mellophones, even though I wasn't in that section. And I'd sit on the bus and just learn how he wrote that from
That's
page.
cool.
Yeah.
The last question, and I kind of stole this from Mark Connor, who does the Everything Band podcast. I don't know if you've listened to that at all, but what do you feel is the place of competition in the education of band members? Is it important?
Oh, you just froze.
Am I there?
Well, I don't know whether you can hear me, but you just froze. The place of competition in the realm of education, I want to win. I want to win. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I want to win, but I want to win because we did the best show I could write, and we did it the best. And if somebody else is out there and has a better show, awesome, because I'm going to study it, and I'm going to learn how to make me better, and I'm going to learn how to make the band better. And that's what competition is just being better through time for having done it. Now, it has to it can't be about winning. Like if you look at Winchester shows in our second tour there, so 2011, 12, and 13, and then 15, 16, all those shows and the Anderson shows, they all had a reason, an educationally valuable reason. A lot of it is about building character and making right choices and stuff that's going to matter to this kid when after he graduates and doesn't play saxophone anymore. I mean, obviously we can build in a lot more value to the show than just did we win or not, right? But I want to win. I want to do our show the best we can possibly do it. And if it wins, great. And if it doesn't, then we did it the best we can, then okay.
That's awesome. Well, Amy, thank you for joining me on this, the very first interview episode. If people want to get a hold of you, is there an email address or something that they can write to?
Sure. It's A Fletcher. There's a T in Fletcher. My fourth graders can't figure out that there's a T in Fletcher. AFLETCHER 86 at mymetronet.net.
Great. Thank you again for joining us, and looking forward to seeing the shows if they happen for State Fair this year.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Not looking likely, but let's hope. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy.
All right.